Hello and welcome to episode 109 of the Boot Nerds podcast. JayMike, how's it going?
Well, things are good as always over here in Denmark. It's not raining, it's not windy anymore, it's just sunny and, new boots are coming out and life is pretty good. I'll be honest, end of the season is drawing close. Euros are around the corner. We launched the Euro campaign at Unisport. It's been a good week, man. How about Canada?
Still kind of cold.
Oh.
Still kind of shut down. But
wow.
You know what? Things are looking up. You can never... It's way too easy these days to look at the negative side of almost everything in life. So you got to be a little bit positive sometimes. Speaking of positive, I don't want you guys to get too excited at the very start of this podcast, but from now until May 17th, you can get 15% off at puregripsocks.com by using coupon code MAY15 at checkout. It's the first time Pure Socks Classics are on sale. It's the first time new Pure Grip Socks Pro are on sale. I believe it might even be the first time the Classic Sleeves, which is the longer variation, are also on sale. So if you have been interested in trying out anything from puregripsocks.com, you can get 15% off with coupon code MAY15. The website will be linked down below, puregripsocks.com.
You're basically like the philanthropist of like the sock sleeve world. Just,
Trying to give the people what they want,
Doing a pretty good job. Other people who are also giving people what they want is, that'll be Nike. People have been maybe calling for new colors for a little while. Now they've dropped the Euro packs, which is also for the Champions League final and the Copa America, of course. But the primary focus is the Euros, which is still called Euro 2020, I think, which is odd because it's Euro 2021. But it consists of the Phantom GT, the Mercurial Superfly and Vapor, and the Nike Tiempo, let me fix the laces, Nike Tiempo Legend 8. And it's definitely one of those, it's called Impulse Pack, and it's definitely one of those packs that will make you open your eyes and say, okay, that's bright, that's bold, that's out there. But with that said, I also think that they have done it in a consistent way, so it actually doesn't, it's not overly loud and it's not annoying because there's some sort of, there seems to be like some sort of sense to the madness. What do you reckon?
I think across the board, the boots look pretty good. It's still weird to me to see Nike release a pack and there's only 3 boots. It really does. Like I'm so used to 4. It just looks like something's missing. But I think they've done a good job at standing out. I think they've done a good job at being a little bit different. And I like the fact that the offerings from the main brands, which we're pretty much going to be rating them all today, all have their own distinct look about them, because sometimes it's like they all decide to do white boots and it's, I don't know. I like the fact that they're all kind of banking on their own concept as far as colorways are concerned. You're going to get that distinction from one brand to the next throughout kind of the Euro 2020 and all the other things that are going to be happening around this time.
And I totally agree. And the funny thing is that, normally the brands would be gearing up to the tournaments. They would have their big tournament packs. We saw that last year with Adi. They had Uniforia, Nike had Neighborhood Pack, and I don't remember which pack Puma had, but it was probably also, it probably had like the bigger, deeper story, right? Mm-hmm. And then the Euros got postponed, and now they have the packs that they had already planned on having in the summer of 2021 that then all of a sudden became their Euro packs. So if this was supposed to be the Euro pack, I'm not really sure of. But hey, I mean, you can come up with a story for anything these days. So the Impulse Pack here has basically been made to make sure that you can actually visibly see who's a Nike player and who's not. And I think it's maybe I don't know if it's like an afterthought and say, okay, how can we? What should the story be here? Or if that was the point from the beginning, but I don't care. It's a pretty cool story, and it definitely works. What I like about this is I think the Mercs are brave, but I think once they grow on us, I think most people will actually accept them. I think the Phantom GTs are also, I didn't like them initially, but on feed I reckon they look okay. But the Tiempos, I think, are Probably one of the best Legend 8 colors we've seen in a good while. I think this is absolutely beautiful. I really like that. And what I also like, and it might just be a coincidence, is that they actually have these shapes on the back of the boot that reminds me a little bit of that triangle we had for the World Cup in 2018 on the Just Do It pack. Obviously, they're just silo specific shapes now. So the Merc and Tiempo has a circle, and the Phantoms have the triangle. So yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. But Josh, what we're going to do today, before you say more about the boots, is obviously that we're going to talk about the Impulse pack. We're going to rate those boots. But seeing that it's the Euro and Copa America pack, we're also going to rate the other Euro boots. So the Spectra from PUMA and the Superspectral from Adidas. Do you want to say more on the Impulse pack? Because if you don't, then we're just going to start rating them.
No, I think we can rate them all. Let's get going on that. Give the people what they want.
Now that this is just the episode, we give people what they want. Mercurials.
I like them.
You like them?
I like them. It seems like something that I would like make on Nike ID. But that's I would say that's a compliment because I think I'm a pretty good Nike ID designer, as we saw in the previous Nike ID Boot Nerds podcast off that I clearly won based on the comment section, but
okay,
that's besides the point
So
entirely.
you've been drinking again today. Okay, it's going to be that kind of.
No,
I know what you're saying.
I like them because I think it's so hard in the Mercurial series, especially for Nike to come out with a colorway and for us to not be able to say, oh, this reminds us of this one or these 5 that they've done in the past. And I'm trying to think what that colorway reminds me of. And the only thing I can think of that's similar was one colorway of Nike Tiempo Legend 6 that had a similar color combo, if you can remember those.
Yeah.
But I can't recall any other Mercurial that looked quite like that. I think the color combo works.
The first Vapor 8 to get ACC, I think that had with the orange swoosh.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Similar color, yeah.
Similar color, yeah. It kind of had the same vibe, but I don't think I've ever seen one with these, like this teal and what was this called? Bright green, whatever.
Yeah.
I think it looks fresh. I agree. It might not be my go-to color. If I was sat on Nike ID thinking, what am I gonna do? I know you would probably go for grape because you don't have any taste in color, but. I mean, I think with that said that it works. And on feet, it looks better than it does for me in hand. So I'm going to need a little bit of time for it to grow on me, just like I did with those Phantom GTs from the Spectrum pack. But I think, come the Euros, I think I'm going to like these. So I would say 7 out of 10 for these. They're solid, but not like I'm not blown away.
Wow. I think I'm an 8.5 on these. I really like them.
Okay. Impressive.
Yeah. I really like them.
I like the Vapors better. They look just a little bit better than the Superflies, but it's the same colorway. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the Phantom GTs.
I'm not as high on them, but I do think they look good. I know people say, "Oh, I'm so sick of Volt or Neon Yellow," because I haven't seen them in person, but it looks like it's a slightly faded variation of Volt.
Exactly, it looks like a slightly greener version of Volt, whatever that is called.
But I don't know. I at the same time I kind of like them. I really like the triangle on the heel.
Looks super cool, doesn't it?
It just looks very cool to me. And I like the accent of the blue. This is. Man, I wanted to give it a 7.5, but I think it's an 8. I think it's one of the better Phantom GT colorways that we've seen.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Which one would you say is better?
I really did like the Scorpion pack ones. And I also think that the 3D one that we recently got is maybe a little underrated. I think those are actually pretty cool in person.
Really?
Yeah, I think they're okay. But right. I like this.
Okay. Well, to me, I mean, as I said, when I saw these for the first time, I was like, yeah, I don't like them. I think they're too much, and they're going to make the boots look bulky and big and chunky. And then I got them on feet, and I I started liking them, and I kind of, I don't know what it is, but the fact that they've kept the blue is this teal, so there's a little bit of green in it. The vault kind of has a little bit of green in it as well. I think it actually looks pretty good. And, there's a different direction with the little triangles around the swoosh and all that stuff. Of course, the triangle on the heel looks nice. And then the whole kind of translucent, undyed tooling here looks really good. It somehow reminds me of, all the pros who are wearing the Intertract tooling, or that Tiempo Legend for Elite tooling, the translucent one. It kind of reminds me of this, and it just looks a little bit better than if it was all black. I really like that about them. But with that said, I'm not crazy, so I'm gonna give them a 6.5. What did I give the Mercurials? 6.5? 7?
7, I think.
6.5 for these.
Oh wow. Okay, that's to each their own.
Yeah, I mean, 6.5. I don't think that's. Yeah, but on the other hand, I gave those Copercents Prime Knits a 5.5. Maybe that's a little bit. I'm just about as confused about my own rating system as I am about the SR4U rating system these days. But I don't feel I can. You know what? I'll bump this up to a 7.5 because this is better, I feel, and this up to a 7. Fair play.
Okay.
But the Tiempos.
Okay. The Tiempo I really like. And it reminds me of, and I can't remember if it was, I know it was a women's pack.
Yeah.
And there was
the first to say that.
Right? It was a Tiempo Legend 5, and it had that very similar kind of dark teal color with the Volt Yellow heel. I really like these. The graphic on the heel I think just stands out really nice. It's kind of cool. And I just love the color. It's such a unique color. I'm glad that they went with the black fly knit and the black laces. I think that's a really nice touch as well. It kind of breaks up what would be an overly bright shoe otherwise. And again, while I've never been a huge fan of the Tiempo Legend 8, I think it's a very good looking football boot. And I think this colorway shows it off really nicely. So I got to go with the same as the Mercs. I think it's an 8.5 for me.
Oh, wow. You like these as much as the Mercs? Or the Mercs as much as these? Wow. I am going to actually go, I think 9 for these. I think they're really, really good, to be honest. And like I said, one of the best Tiempo Legend 8s that we have had probably ever. Only, I think it's hard to beat those blue, the deep blue, royal blue Legend 8s that were back in there. But this is one of the stronger ones, I reckon. Anyways, so that was Nike. I hope they grow on me, but I'm not that sold on them as I could have been. But we move on to Adidas. Let's save the best.
Yeah, let's do that. Superspectral,
which is like
to me, it's like, because Puma launched Spectra Pack first. And I have to assume that these names would just come up way in advance, and it's kind of coincidence, but it just looks funny to me that Puma comes out with Spectra, and then Adi's like, no, we can't do Spectral, Super Spectral.
But the funny thing is that Nike, their spring pack is called Spectrum. Spectra is Spectrum plural. And then you have, what's wilder than Spectrum plural, that is Superspectral. I actually, when we did the playtest for the Superspectral video, I looked up what Superspectral means, and I don't really think it means anything. You can talk about hyperspectral light. It includes the entire light spectrum, all the colors that we humans can't see and stuff. So maybe it's just a way of saying, it's more than meets the eye or whatever. Feels like I'm just making up the stories, but I don't really know. It's a fun name, and I guess I half expect the next pack to be called Hyper or Mega Spectral or something like that. But hey, Nemesis. I think these are pretty cool, and we've been a little harsh on the Nemesis. This is the last inline Nemesis we're going to see. For now, at least. And I think it does a nice job of wrapping up the Nemesis line. It's a little bit, for me, a bit of a throwback to the Nemesis 17 launch colorway. And I think it works. I mean, I'm not a fan of the Nemesis Plus, the way it looks compared to the local one, but I think it looks solid. I'm not mad at it, and I would rate it fair 7.5.
Yeah, I'm very close to you. I was thinking a 7 out of 10 is probably where I'm at. I think it's a decent looking colorway for what is ultimately kind of a weird looking football boot.
So you'd rather wear the Mercs than these? Yeah, probably.
If we're just based on looks, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Copa Sense Plus in white and black and pink.
I see these. When I first saw them, I was like, it's okay.
What?
After seeing them in person and really like looking at them over the last week or two, they've grown on me significantly. I think it's a very cool looking colorway.
I agree.
I like these a lot. For me, this is... I just think the Copa Sense Plus visually is such an interesting football boot.
Good looking boot, right?
Yeah, like this is a 9 out of 10 for me. I really like how this looks.
I would actually agree. The way that it has, the vibes of that F50 Adidas from 2010, that white, black, and pink. This is sleek. It has that. And the cool thing about the Copa Sense to me is that it has that, sleek and streamlined look, but it still looks elegant and classy and like crafted in a nice way. It's a very interesting combination. And on feet, it just looks phenomenal, this one. So definitely for me, the best Copa Sense we've had so far. And much better than the other white colorway, that inside out thing. Which wasn't the best. But I agree. This would probably be a 9 out of 10 for me as well.
Yeah, I love them. And I think that the execution of the stripes on the heel, it's just... I've never been a big fan of Adi messing around with like positioning and design of the stripes. I think they always look best when they're very simple and kind of just placed in the middle of the boot where they should be. But that is just... It's so sleek. Like everything just flows so nicely on that boot. It's such a good design.
And exactly, because it's there, it's popping, it's very visible, but it doesn't really disrupt the design, that clean design of the boot. So really, really like that, yeah. And speaking of pink, we also have the X's, which again, when I saw them for the first time, I was like, they're very, very in your face. But you know what, Josh? I like these. I think they're actually very good looking, and maybe it's just because the X Ghosted Plus is a good looking football boot. It just has something to it. It looks very aerodynamic and just makes more or less every colorway, except for the Marvel pack, look really, really good. I rate these a lot. That gradient that shifts from the orange to the pink, which also happens on the tooling. Nah, man, this is good. 8.5 for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think this is a really good execution of a pink football boot. And I mean, pink and black with pink and white, that's usually the color combo you see when pink is used. But I think it's a really clever idea to go with this kind of like similar but still contrast orange color at the heel. The fade looks really good with the design of the boot. Shows off the technicality really well.
Can we just appreciate how good Adidas are at making iridescent toolings? It's a phenomenal job they're doing. Even that Marvel boot was great because of the tooling.
Oh yeah, if we're talking about wearable finished sole plates right now, Adi is killing everyone. They're doing a great job. But to me, this is a 9 out of 10 colorway again. I think it's really good.
Very strong.
And I think what's great about that one as well is it's going to be the standout of the tournament visually. When you're watching on TV, you're going to notice every player wearing those, which I think is super important for a major tournament pack.
Yeah, you're right. And it might even be popping more than the Mercs. I mean, I think the Mercs are also going to stand out just because the colorway is so different to what we're normally seeing. But I think pink is just gonna pop more on television.
Yeah,
I reckon
for sure. I agree with that.
And then we have this Pred Freaks, which also has a bit of pink and purple on them, and actually looks a little bit more toned down than some of the other boots in the pack. And normally, if you came to me and said, look, the Adidas Euro 2020 Predator is going to be black, purple, pink, and white, I would laugh at you and say, that doesn't sound good. But they actually made it into a pretty good looking boot. I love what they're doing with blocking. on the Predator Freak lately. Yeah, you know, that Wolverine boot that had the blocking on the tongue, that yellow piece looked great. Here, where they have that gradient that kind of pops up with the whole like cracked texture effect, looks great. Even the implementation of purple demon skin spike, it looks great. I think holistically, it's just a good looking boot, despite the colors maybe being something I wouldn't normally associate with a Pred or a good looking football boot. But hey, it works, and I like them. I think they look great on feet. I'm gonna say 8.5.
I really like those. And again, I think this is a very strong pack. It's a super pack from Adi. No pun intended.
Super spectral, yeah.
But that Pred in person, like the detail and that crackle and the accent between the pink and the black, the purple and orange little details they've incorporated too, it just looks really good. It has such an organic look to it. And I can't think of the name, but I remember when I was a kid, I had a PS1 and there was this fighting game that had dinosaurs. It was just dinosaurs. And I can't remember what it was called, but you could like, you know, on a fighting game, you have like the different skins for all the characters.
Yeah.
And there was like a T-Rex or like a raptor or something like that. And you could toggle through the colors. And one of them, they would be like these really, really bright colors. And I can't remember the name of it. But that boot really reminds me of like, if you were to make a dinosaur and then give it these very vibrant colors, it would kind of look something like that. Just super, super aggressive. To me, again, I'm going to go 9 out of 10. I think it's a very strong colorway.
Wow, you're handing out 9 out of 10s like
I know.
There was no tomorrow.
I know.
What happened to you? Last week it was, 1 out of 10. Worst boot ever. And now it's like, but the thing is, these are also pink and purple. The Copa Sense Prime Knits were pink and purple. Like,
they're awful. Look at.
Okay, fair enough.
I read the comments. Very few people disagreed with me. I'm pretty sure I was right.
Okay, fair. I'm just saying what I'm seeing, man. I'm just saying, same colors. I agree, different execution, and they make a bit more sense. Okay, but these, let me just point out that these boots are probably the reason why your Copa Sense Prime Knits are pink and purple. So you can blame those for that. That's not gonna impact your rating.
No. Oh, okay. The game, I found the game. It was called Primal Rage.
Primal Rage. Okay. Yeah, I was looking at that, but thought, nah, that's too old. But that was like, OG graphics, man. That looks...
Yeah, it's like a long time ago. But that's what the Predators remind me of, like some of the dinosaurs in this game.
They actually have a character called Sauron, like the guy from Lord of the Rings. Anyways, Primal Rage, there you go. We also have, of the big three, we have... Puma. Now I'm gonna start with the Ultras, because the Ultras are white with this. Is it multicolor? Let's call it multicolor. This multicolor weave in the actual Matrix Evo material. So the multicolor yarns have actually been integrated into the material itself. It's not a texture. It's not a print. It's actually made in the material, which I think is really, really cool. And it reminds me a little bit of those. Remember the Nike Flyknit Racers?
Yes.
The running shoes that people used to rock. I did as well a couple of years back. They had the multicolor colorway, which was really, really cool. I think this comes kind of close to that. But I think a lot of things work on this. Fade on the tooling, white multicolor, it's cool. But somehow that light blue kind of takes over for me and makes it look a little bit like crayons. And I'm not sure I really, really appreciate that. So I think that okay, but I can't go higher than 7.5.
Yeah, look, I think that's a really good observation, because now I will never be able to unsee that. But I really like this colorway. I've always been a big fan of like the multicolor yarn thing. And I think what's cool about this is, like you said, it's part of the upper. It shows off the construction. It shows off the technicality. And that to me is something that's really cool about a colorway like this. I got to go higher than you. I think it's an 8.5 out of 10. I really like them.
But tell you what, if they had done the Ultra the same way they did the Future, with the same color spectrum, now that we're talking about Spectra, pun intended. Why am my jokes are so bad today? They don't work. It's awful. Don't say it's not just today. But anyways, if they had done them in with the same color spectrum as on the Futures, I think they would have looked better, because this to me is just so perfectly executed. This Fusion Fit band looks so rich and full, and the colors fit together. It's just a very, very good looking football boot. I like how the Future blocking, it pops, the lockup pops. Obviously, I've gotten them dirty, but for me, it's such a holistically, visually pleasing pair of football boots that I'm going to have to give these a 9.5. I think it's one of the best Futures we're going to see in a long, long time. That's a big statement, because we've had some good Futures and there will be some good Futures, but now this is amazing.
Yeah, again, I agree with you. I think that's a really good looking colorway. I like the fact that the multicolor through the band in the middle doesn't have any white in it, so it's really just true multicolor. I agree. I think it would have been cool to see the Ultra just solid color and just get rid of all the white bits. But yeah, it's a really good looking colorway of the Future. I have to give it a 9 out of 10. It's great.
So what you're basically saying is that the Copas, the Preds, the X's, man, you're handing out 9s, and the Future sets are the best looking boots for the Euros.
Yes, I think so. Although in general, I think it's a really, really strong release from all the brands for the tournament.
It has been, but okay, but you can only pick one boot to wear, and you know, performance, fit, all that stuff aside, all things being equal, we're only talking about looks. Which model do you go for? And you have to choose one. 2 girls over drinks, and go. Don't hesitate on me here.
Just based on looks, I'm picking the Future.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm picking the Future.
I think I'm with you, because 9.5 out of 10 would be a little bit self-contradictory if I went with the X. But yeah, they're solid. And to be fair, I wouldn't mind wearing any of these. I think the one I would least like to wear is probably the Phantom GTs, and I would still be okay with it. Yeah. Okay, so that was rating all the Euro packs. But Josh, before we move on to the questions, which brand made the best pack overall? We're still 2 girls. We're still having drinks.
Oh no.
Oh yes.
Look, I think Puma did an excellent job, but they had 2 boots. I think it's easier to do a pack of 2. Adi had the biggest challenge because they had 4.
But they still didn't make 4 boots that look the same, because the Nemesis is white and black and orange.
Yeah, and I do think the Nemesis falls behind the other 3. But I think Adi did an excellent job. I think they all look really cool. I would say they had the strongest pack.
Yeah, I would probably agree with you. I think the Future is really like the standout feature for me in the Spectra pack, and they're just, you know, 3 out of 4 is that's a pretty good hit rate for the Super Spectral. And the Nike pack, I mean, Tiempo is really, really good, but I still think the Super Spectral is the best one, because they all look good, and it just does its job really well of just like standing out, popping.
Yeah,
looking at them here, they all look very different. So again, kudos to the brands for not, you know, mixing up, going with the same trends that apart from the names, obviously. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think Nike did a good job too. They once again kind of fell back into this, we need to incorporate neon yellow somewhere. And I know Volt's kind of Nike's thing. It's become their signature over all these years. But I think Adi, in terms of just good looking colorways, and also colorways that are pretty unique and something we've never seen before, that's why I think it's so good.
Gotcha. With those words, Josh, we move on to the Q&A section of the video. And of course, guys, as always, if you have any questions you'd like us to answer, any comments, you want to slate our ratings, let us know in the comment section right down below. We're going to pick the best questions in each episode, and we're going to answer them and get back to you. Now, before we do that, if you like this video, please leave a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, hit the thumbs up anyways, because it's going to make us happy. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, go and do that so you get a little notification, if you click the little bell, of course, every time we post a video. And of course, if you don't want to look at this mess of a face, you can also go and listen to the Boot Nerds podcast on every podcast platform that you can find, basically. All the big ones, at least. But questions. Craig Lee says, it's a statement, nailed it, Josh. Speaking of the Copa Sense Prime Knit, Adi is striking out lately with some of their limited releases. The last Accelerator remake, this, and maybe the X-Men releases as well. And Craig, I thought about it and thought that was a little harsh, but they could have been better. I agree. But then they released the Superspectral, which is very, very good. So yeah, maybe limited releases. Hopefully, second half of the year is going to be a little bit stronger. What do you say?
Yeah, I think so. I think Adi at this point have gone for volume over quality when it comes to their limited releases. And again, it's a lot of cool stuff, but it's also a lot of stuff that's like, who is realistically asking for this? And I think it's hard to get excited about whatever it is, the 9th colorway of a Predator Accelerator remake. Yeah. Or another, like 2 back-to-back modern remakes of a classic Copa followed by this weird Prime Knit covered one. It's stuff that I don't think people want. And if you're going to charge that premium that Adidas loves to charge on their limited releases, it needs to be more special, more unique, more... Look, never been done before is something that I think people are looking for in football boots these days. So for something that maybe was cool 3 years ago, it's not as cool anymore.
Agreed. Let's hope that they bring something new to the table soonish. Peter, or in Danish, Peter Ries, because I think this guy is Danish, says, I love my Phantom 3s and would like a pair of boots that feel similar, but I feel there's too much volume in the GT. So which boot would you say feels the most like a Hypervenom Phantom 3 apart from the Phantom GT? If I say New Balance Huron 6 Pluses, what do you say?
I think that's a solid comparison. I would lean... I think I'd be between that and maybe even a Future Z from PUMA has some similarity to that. I don't think a Phantom Venom is a terrible option if you can still find a pair.
True.
Yeah, it's weird because I think the Phantom 3 is one of the final boots with a knitted upper that doesn't feel super thin.
Yeah.
Like everything is now trending towards more of a barefoot sensation. And I think maybe, the slightly padded feel of the Furons.
Maybe that's why the Furons are better. And maybe even the Furon 6 instead of the 6 Pluses that are a little bit thinner. Maybe the 6s would be better and probably also on sale. So everyone wins. That's probably what I would go for, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good call.
Elton Toledo. Do you feel like ever since Nike came out with Flyknit, the materials in Superflies are more forgiving for wide feet? I wear the Superfly 6 turf model, which fit well. Should I purchase a Vapor Superfly in the Flyknit or the Vapor Posit upper, the newer models? I think Elton, I would definitely agree. Like ever since they made the materials in Flyknit, they have been more forgiving, more accommodating. And I think even with the Vapor Posit upper, they took the learnings from their Superfly boots, the Flyknit boots, and they took all the feedback from the players who loved the fit of the Vapor 12 and 13 and said, okay, we're going traditional synthetic again, but it needs to feel as comfortable and it needs to mold to the foot as well as the previous boots did.
I think there's not a giant difference between them. And I've seen very different opinions on that just based on comments on some of the videos I've posted, and I'm sure some of the ones on the Unisport channel as well. Everyone's going to, I guess, focus in on certain aspects of certain boots and notice different things. I think the vast majority of people are probably just going to notice that the new Vapor Posit upper is a little bit thinner, a little bit more raw, maybe a little bit less soft. But in general, I don't think it's a gigantic difference in feel or comfort between Vapor 14, Vapor 13, Superfly 7, Superfly 8. So Yeah, there's an argument to be made that the Flyknit ones are a little bit softer, a little bit more sock-like, but considering the direction that Nike is going in with these new Vaporposit uppers, I think they've done a pretty good job.
I would agree. But I mean, if you are into Flyknit boots, going for a pair of Vapor 13 Superfly 7s would probably not be a bad idea if that's what you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just take a look at a pair of PUMA Ultras.
Also not bad. Especially if you have wide feet, then it's great. Andrew Palmer, what makes the latest Copas worse than the last accelerators? Both loud colors, both boots aren't the peak of performance compared to Adidas current models. What's the difference? And I guess it's because you absolutely destroyed them and I didn't particularly like them. But why do you hate them so much more than the what was it called? Hyperlative accelerator?
Yeah, look, the accelerator came out in a colorway that nobody was really asking for, but I still think they look good. A purple and pink and white Copa with orange accents. I don't understand it visually. But then when you're also talking about feel and performance, granted, very different football boots. And I think an accelerator in general is probably not most people's cup of tea. But I also don't think a inverted knit leather Copa mashup thing is necessarily everyone's cup of tea either. And here's the thing about the Copas. I think that prime knit Copa thing is very comfortable. It feels awesome on feet.
Yeah,
It's bulky. I'll give it that. That's probably not something that a lot of people like. But I also, in terms of like touch on the ball, it's super slippery. Like the prime knit that's completely uncoated on the surface makes absolutely no sense from a touch perspective. And like I can't get it out of my head that it feels like I'm wearing a regular pair of Copas that I've stretched a sock over top of, and now I'm trying to play in them. Like that's what it reminds me of. It's just a weird football boot. So both of them are very playable. I think neither of them are probably ideal by modern standards, but given the choice, I would so much rather play in the accelerators.
And for me, I think the reason I like the hyperlative accelerators more is, like you say, the primeness just came out of nowhere for no apparent reason, whereas the Preds, they have been releasing them for a while and they directly tied into that colorway. And okay, you could say the Copa Sense primeness do as well, but it just felt a little bit more forced, like they were trying to pull a rabbit out of the hat. And it just, for me, it didn't work as well.
Yeah. Like again, in Addy's defense on another accelerator remake is they've mostly sold out in almost all of them. So clearly there's some demand there. It's just how much demand is actually left.
True. Yeah. Not too much for the primates, I guess. We have a last question here from DL Boot Room. Been getting a lot of questions about the best limited edition boot that has been made available to buy. So, for instance, not the Chrome Vapor 9s, for example, from any brand. So which would you guys choose as the all-time best limited edition boot that you can buy or could buy?
Oh my gosh, that is such a hard question.
I thought long and hard about it, and I narrowed it down to two. For me, it has to be either that Nike Mercurial Vapor 9 white, black, gold coin that they made 100 pairs of, and I have one and it's signed. So obviously it's a little bit special to me, but either that or the first Vapor 9 in white, black, and orange, also 100 pairs, or the Adidas David Beckham Predator Pulse, the Yin Yangs 723, made in 723 pairs, and I think it was either $723 or pounds back when it was released. Absolutely ridiculously expensive, but comes in this big wooden box. Sits at my chair currently, a table currently, and it's just special. I would say it has to be one of those.
See, I thought of two boots in my head, and one I'm kind of surprised about. Okay. I don't have either of these, which I think is important in like talking about a really cool, super rare, limited boot. For me, one has to be just the 2008 Vapor Carbon SL.
Yeah, the Merc SLs,
I love those. It's just such a cool product.
It is.
Even if it's probably not that functional.
It's not.
I just love the idea of it.
It's
and it was,
food, yeah.
It's cool. And then the other one that popped in my head, and I don't even know if they went for sale, but remember that leather covered Hypervenom Phantom 1 that they did for Miroslav Klose?
Yes, I do.
I love those. I love those.
Can't say much.
But I don't know if they came out.
No comment.
I love those. Those are so cool to me. You don't have those, do you?
It's the weather's nice today, Josh. It's
all right.
No, I don't have it, but I can't say, I can't say much about them, to be honest.
I think those are so cool. But those would be my picks for like all-time super limited boots.
Gotcha. Also fair. And we'd actually, it'd be interesting to know what you guys think. So let us know in the comment section right down below, where of course you can also leave your questions for the next episode. What are we going to talk about there? Well, time will tell, and you'll find out next week when we return with Boot Nerds podcast episode 110. In the meantime, you have to make sure that you've subscribed to the Boot Nerds podcast by clicking the green white bubble in the middle of the screen. You can also go and check out what Josh and I are doing over on our separate channels. And also, of course, make sure that you've left a thumbs up on the video if you had a good time. And with those words, I have been JayMike, and I approve this message. See you next time.
Thanks for watching. I rate this episode 9 out of 10. Bye.
Of 1 out of 10?
No, this was definitely a 9.
Oh, okay, definitely.